Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight for our Family to Family panel. My name is Skylar Kuhn, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Washington College. Joining me tonight are three of our Family to Family volunteers. They're all parents of current Washington College students, and they'll speak about their child's experience deciding on Washington College and the moment they knew that this was the place for them. Joining me tonight are Larry Witham, Ron Mayer, and Victor DeSantis. We will begin tonight with each panelist introducing themselves and answering some opening questions, and then we'll end with a Q&A session. Please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to submit questions for our panelists. If we're unable to answer your question live, then your student's admissions counselor will follow up as long as we have a name associated with that question. We've allotted 1 hour for this session, so without further ado, I will now hand it over to Larry.
Good evening. My name is Larry Witham. I'm a parent of two students, current students. One is a senior. She'll be graduating this year. Her name is Maggie. She's a biochemistry, molecular biology major. She's a presidential fellow, a peer mentor, a peer tutor, a lab assistant, Cater Society member. She's a member of the Tri Beta Scientific Honor Society and a member of the Omicron Delta Kappa Leadership Honor Society. The second daughter, Libby, she's a freshman this year. She's declared a major as she's an environmental science major and biology major. She too is a presidential fellow. She's also an apprentice for the John S. Toll Science and Mathematics Fellowship. She's currently the secretary of the Student Environmental Alliance, and she's now the vice president-elect for next year. She's involved with the Geographic Information Systems Lab through work study. She's also in the composting and campus garden clubs, and she's currently scheduled to do the Grasslands Bird Studies summer internship with a couple of professors this summer. Go ahead, Ron.
Good evening, I'm Ron Marr. My son Jack is a junior this year. He's a computer science major. He's a member of the Kappa Sigma fraternity. He works in the library part-time, and he used to be on the rowing team, but more recently he's decided he wants to join the Trap and Ski Club. He's came from a small school up here near Baltimore, so Washington College fit right in with what he was looking for and sort of what we were looking for. It turned out really well. Victor.
Well, thank you, Ron. Good evening, everyone. My name is Victor DeSantis. I am a very proud 1986 graduate of Washington College with a political science degree, and I had the honor of having two of my daughters go to Washington College. One is currently a student there. She's a 2022 student, so she's a rising senior. Her name is Catherine. Catherine is very involved in Greek life. She's involved in the Student Government Association. As a matter of fact, she's just elected as the president of the SGA for next year. She's a presidential fellow and a member of a Cater Society. So she's very involved. She's a poli-sci and philosophy double major. My daughter Rebecca graduated a few years back in 2016. She was an international studies and French major. Rebecca had a completely different route at Washington College. She was involved in residential life and was an RA for 3 years. She was heavily involved in dance and the jazz band and in the Model UN program. So I've got two daughters, completely different experiences. The one thing they share in common is that they both did the Annapolis internship for down in the legislative branch of state government. And they both did that. Catherine just finishing that up right now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It's wonderful to have these panelists with us tonight. And again, if you have questions for them this evening, please feel free to use that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. We're going to get started though with our three opening questions. So the first, what differentiated Washington College from the other schools that your child was considering? And again, we'll start with Larry.
Okay, I have 4 daughters and 3 are in college right now. So we've taken upon ourselves to visit or drive through many colleges, big, small, mostly the Northeast and a little bit of the South, but primarily Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. we've seen a lot of different schools. We toured a lot of schools. And what made the difference for Maggie, the first time she went through, she thought it was a small school. And then we saw a big school. And then she went back to her, I think I want to go to a small school. We come from a small high school scenario, very rural in the rural part of New Jersey. So she felt a connection more to a smaller school. We went back another time to visit. And that's when she started feeling the people. It was the people that made the difference for her. And then ultimately, after getting accepted and going to the accepted student days, that's when she went and sat on the wall where Washington College is, the front wall on the entrance, and said, "Take my picture. This is where I'm coming." So it was the people. It was the people and the professors. Libby's a little bit different. Libby's known that she wanted to be environmental science. So she's always been targeting Washington College as a school. She was torn between, she didn't pick as many schools to apply to, but she was torn between two. And when it came down to it, it was the environmental science programs and the facilities that just floored her. She went on a tour on acceptance day of the River campus, and actually, banded a bird. And when she came back, she looked at me. She said, "Dad, this is the place." So it was the facilities, but it's also she understands. She had the advantage of having this older sister at the school at the same time. I got to meet some of the professors in the sciences, and she enjoyed speaking with them when she was visiting. And she has since has said that the professors are the key to the Washington College.
So I guess that's me, sorry. My son, we looked at a bunch of schools down south primarily because he wanted to be in warm weather. And he was a rower and he knew he wanted to go to a rowing school. So that kind of delimited where we looked. And he'd been to Chestertown numerous times rowing. And he actually really liked the town. He liked the school a little bit, what he saw of it. But once again, it was the people and it was the community that made him choose the school. Originally, I think he came in with the idea of being an environmental science major. And then apparently he found computer science and said, "No, this is what I want to do." But he's made a lot of friends. He's become an amazing independent little person that he wasn't when he came there. So his older brother only looked at one school. It was a big school of 10,000 students up in Philadelphia. And he knew he didn't want to go there. So it's been a great fit.
In my case, my daughters have been around college campuses most of their lives. I work in higher ed. I've been in higher ed for 30 years at 4 different campuses. And I think for my daughters, what they were looking for was really an institution that would give them that personalized attention. They certainly were looking for a school that was writing focused, which Washington College is. Both of my daughters are very good writers, very gifted writers in many respects. And that was a focus area that really resonated with them. As I was working with my daughters and trying to help them explore different options, they had been to Chestertown many, many times on my excursions back to campus. And I think one of the things that resonated with them was the very close connections that I still had on campus as an 86 grad with faculty members from the 80s and 90s, with alums from those years as well. And I think they were looking for that same tight-knit community that would be a long-lasting community for them. I think that was an important part of their decision-making. And I think for both of them, the outreach that campus made to them, from the admissions office to faculty members to other campus administrators, reaching out to them, I think was really the thing that pushed them over the edge and made them commit to Washington College. The outreach, I think, was extremely important. And I think that in many respects right now, the outreach has continued because their personalized experience, again, even though they are having extremely different experiences, that personalized touch is something that can't be replicated.
Thank you. So we'll go into our second question. What's one thing that has pleasantly surprised you the most since your child has been at Washington College that you weren't expecting during their college search process?
I'm going to go back to one is the professors. I was not expecting so many great professors. Maggie's now gone through the 4 years, and I can't think of one professor where she's complained about it, complained about them at all. More times than not, she's telling stories about the professors that you just laugh and it's wow, they're really connecting with their students. And now Libby's seeing the same thing with a different set of professors. She's experiencing the same thing. They're very, very supportive. And if your student reaches out, they're there for them. The one other thing that I found kind of amazing, and we're not really pushy for this, but the ability to have all kinds of different you can have a double major or a major and a minor or a major and multiple minors very easily. And they're all interesting, and they're all that you can tie different things together. And that's one thing that wasn't really on my radar that I thought they would be doing. But Libby came to me this year and said, I think I'm going to a double major. I'm going to bring in biology. And I said, oh, whatever you want to do, it's fine with me. And she's able to do it. That's one of the things that I found kind of shocking. That was pretty easy to do.
COVID-19. Was not expecting that. No, I have to agree with Larry. His professors and the communication from the school are absolutely phenomenal. I was not expecting that. The difference between the Philadelphia School up north, the size of it, and Washington College, I think permits the school to be a little bit more hands-on. It's sort of surprised me. I get emails from you guys all the time. It's like, okay, this is good. I like this. And the fact that my son actually wants to go to summer school, that tells a lot that he really enjoys being down there, and the community itself and the town and the friends he's made down there.
Oh my gosh, I would really pick up on something that Ron just mentioned. As I mentioned earlier, I've been in higher ed for almost my whole career. And I'm right now on my own campus trying to replicate the level of parent communication that Washington College is providing. Ron's absolutely right. The level of communication from Washington College throughout this pandemic year has been absolutely phenomenal. I have felt as a parent that I know the conditions on campus, I know what the mitigation measures are, and I know that my student is safe in and around Chestertown. That's been phenomenal. What really has surprised me, I guess in some respects the most, is something that is so important to each individual student, and that is your ability to find a set of activities that are calibrated directly to you. One of the best things about Washington College is that you can try new things, new clubs, new organizations. Heck, you can walk on to a Division III sport that you haven't tried before. My daughter tried to row for a year, never rowed in her life. These are the kinds of things that you can do at Washington College. And most importantly, you can not only join these activities and be a walk-on to clubs and organizations, but within a short period of time, you can take a leadership role in these organizations. At other institutions that are middle-sized or larger, you might join a club, and maybe by the time you're a senior, you get to be on the executive board of that organization. At Washington College, you can jump in and be a campus leader within your first or second year. And that is phenomenal training ground and such great experiential learning for these students. And that is something that is very unique in a small campus environment where you can be involved in a lot of different things and take a leadership role in them at the same time.
Thank you so much. I love all of those answers. We do send out a lot of emails. We try to keep in touch. All right. And again, just a reminder, when you have those questions for our panelists tonight, feel free to send them in. Our last opening question: what makes Chestertown a special place for a college town?
So I come from a rare place in New Jersey that's it's actually rural, and we're kind of out in the sticks, and it takes us about 20 to 30 minutes to get anywhere. So when we saw Chestertown, it's not as much out in the sticks as we are, but it does. If you wanted to go to some major places for eating or whatever, Middletown is about 25 minutes away. It's not far. To us, it's a normal trip. So the campus where it's located isn't really anything different than what we live in. Actually, what I like about the town is that it actually has a lot more than we have in our town. Just a Tractor Supply would be nice to have in my town. They have it. We actually joked that my wife and I joke with the kids that we're going to retire in Chestertown, and they said, "Wow, you're silly," but we really like the town. It's cute, it's quaint. I love the river. I love the new facilities down there. To me, it seems like it'd be a fun place to go to college. There's just so much stuff that you can do, and everything is walkable. You can walk to the downtown. You can walk to the river. It's a really nice scenario.
It's safe, like Larry said. It's walkable. Everyone's friendly seems to be friendly down there that I've ever met. And as he said, retirement, yes. I've got my uncle retired there, and a good friend of mine from up here in Moncton, who he met his wife down there at Washington College years ago, just recently moved back there from up here to retire. So it's the size of the town. It's the fact that everyone pretty much knows who the college students are to watch out for them. And it's a great place to be.
Yeah, the interconnectedness between the campus and the community, I think is a very special part of the Washington College experience, because I agree with Ron's point. I think the community does take a special interest, and many of the residents in the community are attached in some respect, whether through employment or other types of activities. They're attached to the campus, and so in many respects, it's a campus within a community that is a very vibrant little college town. And I'll tell you what, I don't think that we've ever worried about safety and issues of that nature. It's a quite nice community for a college town.
There's even
one more thing.
There's even Washington. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead, Larry.
There's even Washington College flags down on the light poles on Main Street. It's just they've embraced the town. The college has embraced the town, and the town has embraced the college. It's really nice.
One other thing I was going to say was, where else but could you have the mayor of Chestertown feeding the students dinner on their freshman year orientation on the boat?
Yeah,
That's true. That's a good point. All right, we're going to have our first audience question. So, anyone who wants to jump in is welcome to. How do you think Washington College has fostered relationships even through the pandemic? So I know with this fall, we were completely virtual. I'm not sure if your children are back on campus, but what was that like? What did the college do for them?
So my oldest is in an apartment, and she's been on campus for the spring. And my freshman, she started remote, like everybody did at Washington, and she came to the college in the spring as well. But she's in a dorm. She's having a rougher time because there's not as many students there. She doesn't have a roommate, but now stuff is starting to really, really pick up, and she's gone to in-person classes now. They've done a really good job of they actually just announced that the campus is green today, the green alert for the campus. They've done a real good job of holding the students accountable for keeping it safe. And the whole time during COVID, it really didn't matter. My daughter was doing scientific experiments outside with trees and measuring trees, and it's funny, you watch her. I just said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm doing some stuff for environmental science." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." But they were completely capable with the online facets of learning. The professors were there for each one of them when needed. Maggie was doing her senior thesis all year, and had no problems with that. And again, now that they're back on campus, I could tell my one daughter, the youngest, is has a smile and a pep to her step now that it's warming up. It's the green level, and she's meeting way more people now that they're capable of doing that.
Do you want more input, or is that sufficient? I can mirror what Larry said, that they've done a great job with handling everything. And my son was miserable off campus doing remote learning just because he still had to drive 20 minutes to go to someone else's house to share their internet connection. We live in a rural area with a DSL almost dial-up speed. But so he's very happy to be back in his single room in the Kappa Sig house.
Yeah, I found that my daughter is just as busy as she has always been. I think she's as zoomed out as I am as a professional, because they are still kept up with all their clubs and organizations. SGA has continued to meet, and so she is in the evenings just as busy as always, just in a different medium. And so I've been impressed by how much activity has just transferred to the technology mediated environment from a face-to-face environment.
That's a good point, Victor. Yeah, like my daughter was doing the same thing. You at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, she'd run upstairs and you'd ask where you going, and she's going to a meeting, for a club. And it was it's phenomenal that they kept all that stuff up. Absolutely.
Thank you. And our second question, this one's been touched on a bit, but have you seen the benefit of a small school in your child's lives? So, at this point, would you recommend a small school over a large school?
I come from a small town, and we had a small high school, so they had the benefit of a small high school. It's the same type of scenario where every teacher knew them, and they knew that they knew their teachers. They basically stepped into Washington College. It's the same scenario. Absolutely, there is a benefit for a small college. The one-on-ones that they're both receiving right now, it is very nice for them. The experience has been great, and Maggie's been able to count on a number of different professors. The relationship they've built to now use them as references for for job search and so forth. So it's they really do get to know your student, and your student gets to know them, and encourages them to participate in way more than you would think they would participate in.
Yeah, I would just take off on that and say that there's truly nothing that compares with the level of interaction that a Washington College student gets with their faculty than students might elsewhere get. I've been I was a classroom faculty member at two larger universities for the better part of 20 years. And, regularly having students of 50 and 100 in classes. I don't think my daughter's ever had a class of more than 20 students. And I was talking with my daughter literally just about a year ago at the time that she was picking her fall classes. And we were having a discussion about her junior year classes. And she said, well, I've got a meeting. This was on a Friday evening. And she said, well, I have a meeting with my faculty advisor tomorrow. I said, tomorrow's Saturday. And she said, yeah, we've got a 10 o'clock breakfast meeting and we're going to plan my fall schedule. Where else do you get a group of faculty that are going to have a breakfast meeting on a Saturday with their students? That's a really unique environment.
Yeah.
I have to mirror what Victor said. Yes, I mean, the advising at the school, I think, is great for the faculty advisors of the students. Once again, because the small size compared to a Philadelphia school where advisors, my son had an advisor that wasn't even in his major for whatever reason that happened, but I didn't know about it until his senior year. But down here at Washington, Jack's advisor is in the computer science part. And if he has questions, he can always go to another faculty member for clarification.
Thank you all. All right, so this next question is going to have to make you think back a little bit. What was your very first experience with Washington College, if you can remember?
Physically being there, you mean?
It could be anything.
Yeah, this is a really good story. We, if you're not familiar with the KC building, that they have a circular drive in the front, and we pulled in, and there was a bunch of cars parked in the circular driveway there, and so we kind of pulled in looking for a little spot there, and drove by one, and it was open, and kept going back around. And then my wife said, "Go back around, maybe just take that one." And we went to pull into the one that was there, but it had a sign next to it. And when we looked at it, it said reserved for Maggie Witham. And we're like, wow, that's kind of cool that they took the time to, point out, to bring the student into the mix that with that much personal attention. And then you walk in the building, and it's there's a display right in the front of the desk there that says, welcome to, and it had a number of different students' names, and Maggie's name was there. So it's just the personal touch that you see. We didn't get that in any other schools that we've toured. That's the only school that has done something like that. And to be honest, that really floored us.
Did anyone else want to add anything to that one?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I take mine all the way back to 1980. I take mine all the way back to 1982, and I can tell you, as a young man growing up in northern New Jersey in an extremely urbanized environment, driving to Chestertown to visit Washington College was quite an experience, an eye-opening experience. As that, I didn't have the virtue of living in a small community like Larry has described, but I'll tell you what. In 1982, I knew that's where I needed to go, because it was amazing to walk onto that campus at that time and feel so welcomed and feel like I was part of something that was really unique. And I'm pleased that my own daughters found that same experience.
Ron, did you want to add anything?
No, I'm good. I mean,
Okay.
I can mirror what they said, or I can go back to 1979 when I looked at the school, and it was too close to my parents. Too close. It wasn't 3 hours away. It had to be 3 hours away. So I didn't look any further.
Gotcha. All right, we'll move on to our next question. And this is a good one, especially for people thinking about, their students enrolled. What are we going to do next year when we visit? So where do you all stay when you visit Chestertown, and what do you like to do when you're here?
We found it's kind of tough to visit Chestertown and stay there because of the hotel situation. There's really one hotel. So that we've only really visited to stay over one time at the hotel. Other times we're close enough. It's only 2 hours. Actually, it's a little less than 2 hours now. They've built a bypass around Middletown. For us, it's a day trip. For us, it's no big deal at all. We drive down, we visit, stay all day, go out to dinner at Cafe Sado, and then go home at night, and it's nothing for us. So we don't generally stay overnight.
We've come down for several parents weekends. We've stayed at the Holiday Inn or the Days Inn.
Yeah.
Not the greatest place, but it's a bed. And we stayed at the White Swan. I think that's what it's called, one night, which is a nice place. But once again, it's only an hour and a half, 2 hours away. We've done day trips down there. One time, just as a story, one of Jack's friends had a ferret that lived in the dorm with her. I guess it was her pet. I said, Mom and Dad, you have to bring the ferrets down to visit and have a play date. What did we do? We lugged our two ferrets down to Chestertown to have a play date with his friend's ferrets. But that's the type of, it's a type of atmosphere down there. It's very laid back and low key, and a lot of fun for the kids.
Yeah, we're also not too far away. We live in Lancaster, PA, and so the drive down through southern Lancaster County and across and down across 213 is a absolutely gorgeous drive. I wouldn't trade that drive for anything. And when we do stay over periodically, it's either at the Holiday Inn. Every once in a while, we stay out at Great Oak Landing, and there's a little hotel out there, or a little motel out there. But we love the water, and so everything for us revolves around the water. And so, getting back to the Chester River and eating on the waterfront, these are all, it's really beautiful. Absolutely. And Waterfront Park is just so gorgeous, and something that is still relatively new. It wasn't certainly there in the 80s, but that whole waterfront area is just absolutely gorgeous. The town of Chestertown has done a great job with the waterfront and making it a destination location.
I agree. All right. This next question is about resources. So have your students found resources? So internet access, subscriptions to online academic journals, library resources, etc., sufficient to meet their academic needs?
I haven't heard any complaints. So it's their internet connection's fine. They have Wi-Fi all over the campus. Library is sufficient. I've never heard any complaints from my side.
I have to second that. No complaints on this end either.
Yeah, the reality is that library resources and academic resources these days are all in technologically mediated medium. So you can get them from anywhere. Interlibrary loan you can get from anywhere. I mean, those are all great resources to have. Not a problem these days. But what makes it is the people, and we've all said that before, and you've heard it before from this team. But what makes it also is the wonderful people that work at the library that guide our students.
Thank you. So this parent says, I have a shy student. How would you recommend them getting involved on campus?
My second daughter is, I would say, a little bit more shy than my first daughter. She has had no problems with stepping into anything. I think it's just because it's such a welcoming environment, and that there's so many different things to choose from. I think, Victor, you were talking about that before. They make it very comfortable for a student to try something. My daughter was actually she likes to play tennis. She was on the tennis team in high school, but she didn't decide not to do it in college. But she was over at the tennis courts the other day watching the match, and has it in her head that she might play tennis next year. So it's just, if you want to do it, you can do it, and you don't have to be shy. I told my daughter that freshmen are supposed to be. I call them, just say freshmen are idiots when they come into the school. They don't know anything, and you're expected to not know anything. And they'll treat you. They'll tell you, and they'll treat you like humans. That you're not expecting that, and that's the way she's looked at it. That she can ask a dumb question. She's not expected to be as educated as Maggie is, being a senior. So she can ask the dumb question and not be afraid of it, and that's helped her a lot.
I have to mirror, it's one of those schools where I think you get with your roommates or your suite mates, your hallmates, you get dragged out if you're shy. You get dragged around and say, oh, let's go do this, or let's go to Royal Farms and get dinner or something like that. So I think it works. It works very well.
I'll tell you that I was very impressed with the residence hall, the residence life staff. My older daughter, Rebecca, was a member of that team for 3 years. And I was really impressed with the level of training that she received each year on how to relate to students and how to bring new students along. The residence life staff, I think, does an extraordinary job of helping to ensure that each of the students that are under their stewardship wind up finding their way and getting out and meeting others. I think the Res Life staff is really second to none. They do a great job. And most importantly, they're well trained to do a great job, which I think is a great reflection on the college.
Follow up on that, Maggie is a peer mentor, and one of the peer parts of the job are to actually follow up with, they help bring the students in, the freshmen into the college. But they also keep track of them for their first year. They reach out to them one-on-one. How you doing? What are you up to? You having any problems? Can I help you with anything? And that's coming directly from a student, which makes it a little bit more comfortable to discuss issues and so forth. So I think the peer mentor program was something that really helped out as well.
Thank
And
you.
one of Jack's friends is an RA, and it is impressive the amount of training they have to go through, and coming down early to learn more about how to deal with the students and the freshmen. It's good.
Yeah, and it is nice, to Larry's point, having those peers there. So RAs, peer mentors, they are your classmates and they're upperclassmen, so they've done it before. They can show you the ropes. All right, this next question says, your student found Washington College to be the right fit for them, but what made Washington College the right fit for you as a parent?
That's an easy question. It's seeing that you feel like your student, I see my students happy. One, they like where they are, but to see them really engaging in their education, what they're learning is pulling, it's sucking them in. They're very engaged with what they're learning. They're very happy with their direction, and each year it just keeps accumulating more and more. My oldest now is she said to me, she has a very important interview tomorrow, and she says, you know what, I really think Washington College, the degree that I'm going to get it really stands out. And she said, when I first came here, I wasn't sure because it was a small school, but now she's seeing that she's got peers that are going to Johns Hopkins Medical School and working for what is it, NIH. Couple of another one her roommate has had 3 or 4 job offers already. So it's the college is paying off for them, but to see them, each one of them, and not just my students, but the roommates and that we've known in the past, see how engaged they are with their educations. It's very heartwarming to see that makes me feel like, yeah, we did pick the right school, and the school has taken over from there.
When we were looking at schools, it was not my decision. In other words, I left it up to my son. It's like, you decide where you want to go. I took him to school. I helped him come up with a list, but it was ultimately his decision. Did I think Washington College was the right school for him at first? Maybe not. I wanted him to go further south. I wanted to stay in warm weather to go visit him. Like, South Carolina sounds great. Go there. But ultimately he picked it and he's never turned back.
Seeing your kid flourish at a school and watching that school nurture their intellect and their creativity, that's priceless. I agree with that.
Thank you. All right, this next question asks, is the student body welcoming to students of color?
I think they're very welcoming. My daughter has a gay roommate or had a gay roommate, had a person of color roommate. I think they've looked past that. They're very adamant about, maybe it's just their it's the age group or whatever, but they seem to be very, very in tune to equality, and they don't take lightly to things that that may occur. They don't accept it at all. So yeah, it's a equal opportunity college, and I think the students don't see color, they don't see race, they don't see gay, straight, anything like that. It's really nice to see that there's very grown up behavior, so to speak. If you want to say it's grown, maybe grown-ups need a little to be able to do what they do, but they don't see color at all.
I have to agree with Larry. I don't think they see color. I think they just see other students. I really do. Based on what I've seen with Jack's friends, it runs the gamut. It really does.
I've watched in the higher ed environment, I've watched many schools struggle with issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And yet I've watched many schools do a wonderful job of building programming and building an environment that is diverse and inclusive. I think Washington College in the past few years particularly has been doing a very, very good job and has made a commitment to doing a great job of trying to be more diverse and more inclusive as a community. Let's be honest, it's not always easy to build a diverse community in a small town on the eastern shore of Maryland. And yet I think Washington College is doing an admirable job of building programming and resources that can and should be attractive to a wide variety of audiences. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say diversity is definitely a priority, and the environment on campus is very inclusive, and students do support each other and stick up for each other. There's a bunch of resources for students of, all students. So we have our Office of Intercultural Affairs, which is probably one of the best resources. We have intercultural ambassadors, which is a campus job. So students, have that as their actual job. They're getting paid for it. There's an intercultural ambassador for students of color, for example. There's one for first generation students. And again, it's that peer. So they can go to this person and, as their job, they're going to help out and create programming and things like that. All right. This is a question about things to pack. So what would you recommend as something important to bring to campus that your child has found helpful?
The mattress pad or mattress, I'm lost of word, but the foam piece that you
Memory
put on
foam?
top. Memory foam topper, mattress topper. Make sure you get a twin, what is it, extra long or something? I think the sizes of
yes.
that was the key. They come home and they complain about the beds here. So that's really the only thing that they miss, that you would miss if you didn't have maybe a fan. Sometimes it gets warm down there. I know my Libby's requested to get a fan, so a bigger fan. She had a little one, it doesn't work as good as she wants.
I'd go with fan, refrigerator, and a printer. Maybe a microwave, depending what dorm they're in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me say this. The most important thing that you should bring along as a new student are things that make you comfortable in your living space. Because the reality is that you do spend an inordinate amount of time in your living space. Do we want you to get out? We absolutely do. But you spend a good bit of time. And so having a room, having a space that is comfortable and fits you is so important. But I will also say what not to bring. Leave the PS2s and the Xboxes and all the big screens, leave those at home. The key is to get out and meet people and have experiences. I can't tell you the number of students that I've helped move into dormitories over the last few years that bring in 1 and 2 different gaming systems. Leave the GameCube at home.
Yeah, the TVs, they don't watch TV anymore. They watch stuff on their laptops. So don't waste your money on a TV. I do have one other item. This is a kind of a plug for IKEA, but IKEA has these blue bags, not their shopping bags, but they have these blue zip rectangular bags that you can stuff full of stuff, and they stack real well in your vehicles, and they carry real well, and they obviously they fold down into flat nothing. I've done the boxes, I've done the Rubbermaid bins and stuff like, but these IKEA bags they're the thing. It's kind of dumb, but
No, thanks. This is great advice.
That's great advice.
if I don't have my IKEA bags, I'm not moving anybody in.
Awesome. This is a question about the living situation. And again, I think we've touched on this a bit, but what is the current living situation right now for your students? So this semester, some students are back on campus. Our classes are now in this hybrid mode. So what is the living situation for your students?
So Maggie has a shortened, she's doing a senior thesis and she's done with it now. She's only taken 2 classes this semester. So I don't know if she's in person with those or not. She's more focused. She has been in person with her senior thesis. With Libby, she just started going back, I guess a week ago, maybe, in class. She's at school, and she's now, I believe, 3 classes are in person, and that includes I think a chemistry lab.
Jack went back in February to his dorm, fraternity house, suite, whatever you want to call it. All of his classes are online. The professors chose to stay online. So I guess he's in his dorm room online on classes and having a lovely time.
My daughter never left Chestertown, so she lived in an apartment earlier this year and has been staying in Chestertown this whole time. So she's enjoyed the life there. I think the worst part for her was those 2 months last spring when she had to come home and stay here and be under our roof. So she's enjoyed going back and being part of the Chestertown community again.
Thank you. All right, this question is specifically for Victor. So this parent says that their son lives in DC, so there's some concerns there about coming from this urban area to Chestertown. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that transition?
Yeah, I can certainly talk about that for a moment. A matter of fact, I was in graduate school at American University, so I know the northwest area of DC very well.
Oh no.
I think we just lost him. When we get him,
Poof.
I know, when we get him back, we'll pose that question again. We'll move on to our next question for now. So can the two of you talk a little bit more about academic support at Washington College? Are there certain services that you know your students have used?
There's all kinds of different support. So now it's kind of unfamiliar with this going into this, but each, especially in the beginning of their career at the school, with like the biologies and the chemistries, they've had separate tutoring nights that go along, that whereas a student who's taken the class before will sit down with the new students and just go through work, the work that they've done in the class, and answer any questions outside of class if they have that, to help them study. I know that they have peer tutoring where they actually will be like a one-on-one. A student will work one-on-one with another student. They have note takers. My daughter, I think, was a note taker, helping another student with studying. The Career Center, nobody's really talked about that, but the Career Center does a fantastic job with helping build their resumes, helping them with interviewing, stuff like that. So that's there outside of academics. Can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
My son never really has gone in for needed extra help per se, but I do know when he was rowing crew, there's mandatory study halls for that. And also the fraternity Kappa Sig also requires mandatory study time as well. And I know from talking to him that he can go to his professors for extra help anytime he needs it.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, and this question says, what's the best event that you've attended offered by Washington College?
I don't think we've been to very many events. The one event that we did go to was the opening when she was kind of walked in as a freshman. That was pretty special. But other than that, I'm hoping that graduation is a very, very nice event for her. But we haven't really attended too many events at the college. The kids have, but we have.
And I've gone to a couple of parents' weekends, which are great. The opening of the boathouse celebration was actually a really nice time. Small world. I was sitting next to one of my older sister's college professors at University of Baltimore. So it was kind of weird. The small world syndrome strikes again. But I have to agree, I'm looking forward to graduation ceremony.
Yeah, definitely. All right. And this is a question about housing. So how do housing options change over time at Washington College? I know we talked a little bit about bringing certain things to that first year dorm room, but how has that changed and progressed for your students?
So Maggie has lived in Minta was the one for her first year dorm. Then she lived in West, which is one of the older buildings in the middle of the campus. She lived there her second year. Third year, she lived in one of the newer, I think it was Chester. She lived there in a suite with one, two, three, the four of them. And this year she's off campus, living in an apartment. Libby is, her first year. She is now in, I don't think it's Queen. What's the one right next to Queen's Anne or Queen Anne's? I forget which one it is, but anyway, she lives. It's a typical freshman dorm. And then next year she's going to live in West as well. No other plans other than that. But every dorm has been a little bit different. They're pretty much the same scenarios. It's dorm life. You have roommates, you have flatmates, you have hall bathrooms in the hall. The Chester had bathrooms in the suite. It's just all kinds of different scenarios we've seen.
Yeah, I've only seen Kent and Dorchester, so, but they're perfectly adequate. He's happy.
Yeah.
My apologies for skipping out for a moment. We're having a little bit of weather here in Lancaster County tonight, and I just got a little power surge after a little weather incident that came overhead. We have seen, and I will go back and answer that other question, Skylar, in a moment, but we have seen most of the dormitories, residence halls. Dormitories is an old term, residence halls. We've seen most of the residence halls on campus. And matter of fact, last year, my daughter Catherine got to live in the newly renovated McCall dorms. And so she was in Wacomico, I believe. Wonderful, really nicely redone. I mean, they did an exquisite job of redoing that dorm, of that residence hall. And so, yeah, it's nice to actually watch your kid transition from Minta Martin to Reed you watching them make the transition across campus is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Skylar, can I go back and answer that other question that I so rudely dropped out of? And I do apologize to that,
You're
to
fine.
that parent.
No problem. Yes, go right ahead.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. And as a kid growing up in the city, I'd never experienced farms, cows. I actually didn't know what cow tipping was. I didn't know one tipped cows. And so a lot of things I got to experience in Chestertown. What I would say right now is that one of the really nice features of campus is that Chestertown is a nice community. It's a safe community. It's a very welcoming community. The most important part though is that you're also pretty close to some other things. I mean, you're not too far up the road from Annapolis and from Kent Island and all the development there and all the kinds of things that go on there. You're not too far, as I think Larry mentioned, Middletown in that area. So the good news is that you're not in rural, West Virginia, 3 hours from anything, or downstate Virginia, 3 hours. You're still within 45 minutes from some pretty diverse and resources of urban areas. And I think that's one of the nice parts about Chestertown is that it is quaint, it is contained, it is safe, but it is still just a 45-minute drive across the bridge down to Annapolis, or it's a hop, skip, and a jump up to Middletown, Delaware, and the Wilmington corridor.
Thank you. All right. This question asks, have your students stayed on campus for the summer or for internships?
Last year, Maggie had an internship that was halted, obviously. So we never experienced that. This year, Libby's got one planned for the summer. So in that internship, they provide housing. This happens to be from the field house at the River campus. So we haven't experienced it yet, but her roommates have had some experience with internships over the summer, both at Washington College and one down in Florida. So yes and no. I got one planned, but no to the actual experience yet.
Likewise, he's planning on staying down there for the summer, but never done it before.
Last summer, when things went remote, my daughter Catherine had she had actually plans for the summer that all fell through because of what was occurring in the country and the world. And one of the most wonderful things happened. Again, the Washington College experience. She reached out to one of her faculty members who reached out to some contacts he had in DC, and Catherine wound up with a really excellent internship for the summer that was fully remote, that was working in basically political advocacy work. And she got to do that because a faculty member there who she knew and trusted helped her get a job for the summer in her field. Those relationships, we keep going back to it, but those relationships are invaluable.
Yeah. To stay with that subject, Maggie, although she lost the internship last summer, she reached out to her professor for this summer and said, "Hey, I know I'm graduating, but is there a chance I can still do an internship? Do that internship and do the research with you." And she pulled some strings and is scheduled to be doing the summer internship actually after she's graduating, but she's still going to get the experience with her professor. So again, another relationship with the professor that you just can't pass up.
That's great. All right, so because of time tonight, this is going to be our last question for the panelists. What advice would you give to a parent of a new Washington College student?
Why is that one stumping me? The advice I'd say is just is prepare your student to really enjoy the college. There's nothing to not like about the college. There's so many things. I would tell your student to get involved, to reach out and go do something that you've never done before. If it's trap and skeet, you've never done that. If you want to go sailing and try sailing, go sailing. You want to work with bees. There's a beekeeping club or whatever. Go check out stuff at the Eastern Shore Food Lab. There's so many things to do. Get involved, and you'll find something that will be very interesting to you, I think. And that's what I would just say to them. That's what I've told Libby. I said, Libby, just try everything. If you see an email comes across your desk, go to the dance that they're having, the recital that they're having, and go watch it. Go join the club or go sit in on the club. You'll find something you'll like, and then participate in all the regular things. You know, the sports. Go see the sports. Go watch the sports. Cheer your teams on or whatever. That's all I would say to them. Just enjoy it. It goes fast.
It goes really fast, but just be involved and, like you said, try anything once. It can't hurt. You might like it.
I think that both of these gentlemen, Larry and Ron, right on target. Be adventurous. That's the key, is be adventurous, try everything. And as parents, once we give them the lecture of being adventurous, and once we bring them and drop them off, as parents, the best thing we can do is take a back seat and let it happen for them, and not try to micromanage them from a distance.
Yeah.
You know, I really am a big proponent of, once you get your kid there, once you get them set up, let them be a college student the way that they want to be a college student.
You'll find also that they contact you back with stories. You wish that they're calling you and you like to, I want to talk to her, but the next thing you know it, they're contacting you, texting. I get text every day from my daughters about something, and it's like, wow, they would never talk to me before when they were living here, but now they're constantly needing me, wanting to ask my opinion about something, or telling me somebody, you know, Foreman's Branch followed my daughter on Instagram, and that was a big thing today. So it's just, you'll hear a lot, even though you don't expect it.
Thank you. That's great advice. Well, I wanted to thank our three panelists tonight for their time, and I want to thank everybody at home for tuning in. I hope you found this helpful as you help your student make their college decision. And again, if you had a question that we were unable to answer live, then your student's admissions counselor will be following up, as long as we have a name associated with that question. I also wanted to remind everyone that we are open for public campus visits if you wanted to come check us out again before May 1st. And then if you'd like to take advantage of Family to Family and be connected with the parent of a Washington College student, you can register on our website. And the link to our webpage, we'll make sure that that comes out in the chat shortly. If we have any questions about, what's happening in the fall, we do have a special webinar that'll be happening next Tuesday, April 27th at 7 p.m., where we're going to speak with our provost, dean of students, and assistant dean of student success and retention as they share the plan for our in-person return for the fall of 2021. So if you'd like to register for that, you can do so at washcall.edu/events. But take care, and again, have a wonderful night.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. You guys take care.